Hello, listeners, and welcome to this third and final instalment in the mini-series on the Lyman family. Here is Guinevere Turner.
When you relocate to your mum's house, there's you continue journaling. That's always been a big part of your life. It doesn't stop once you move to a new location, but you do get to experience education, and that was another part of the book that was kind of like I when I was rooting for young Guinevere, I was like, yes. And I just wondered if you could talk through the listeners who for the listeners who may have experienced homeschooling and then moved into education, or who had different types of education growing up, what it meant for you having that experience as somebody that came from a sealed system into this new place.
It's a really joyful question, actually, because when I think about that transition, I think about the one thing that was so amazing. I was like, actual education. How did I know that actual education was a thing? I don't know. I was like, I was terrified of going to public school. I'd never been to a fucking school in my life. But I was also just like, wait, they're gonna give us books. There's gonna be I'm this kid in terms of yeah, I want to learn more. I'm a fucking nerd. I just really love information, and I love to frame my life around what stories I want to tell, and that begins with information. I was beside myself. I was like, okay, this is really fucked up. My mom, who doesn't care about me, just left with this fucked up man who I didn't realize how fucked up he was. But I'm like, what? I'm in school? I'm so happy. I was so fucking happy. And it kind of blinded all of my cult sadness and family sadness, because I was just like, oh, I get to learn shit. So the way that I was raised education wise, it's hard to talk about for me because when I look back, I'm like, what if I'm actually a fucking genius? Because it was very it went so they built a schoolhouse on the property that's in LA. And that was actually fun and sexy. I don't know. I was like, new building, yay. But then it would just be random people that I grew up with, adults being just talking, and it would be about their lives, or it would be about the astrological presidents, FDR and Abraham Lincoln are Aquariuses. And that's how I grew up, and I just was always like, but what? But wait, but and they were just really in love with. They were in love with JFK. They were in love with FDR. And so I feel like my whole education before I was went into the real world was about Aquarius presidents.
I mean, if there was a major in that, you would have been
I
laughing
don't
at the time.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that was educational, but I definitely was like, but what about? But what about? But what about? And I was like, nobody cared. And most of the girls I grew up with were groomed to just be the wives of some older men. And I didn't want that. But I kind of thought I wanted it. But I didn't know what that would even be like. And I was I had this low level fear all the time of that's going to be a thing that's going to happen to me. But in the meantime, I'm like, Abraham Lincoln was a what now? What was his rising?
It's a very empowering part of the book when you have sort of like it's like a safe haven that's offered, almost the school experience, but with all of the other factors involved, it's a place where you're extremely vulnerable. You're exposed to all of these new experiences and all of these new people, and you have this horrific family environment that you don't want to go home to. And through your journals, it's clear that there is so much, you're so angry, and your teenage self is just furious quite a lot of the time, and rightly so. And I don't know how you navigate that. As a young person, emotional regulation is difficult anyway. We're learning so much. Hormones are all over the place. With all of the other experiences that you have on top of that, how was it for you in terms of existing and surviving? Do you recall having moments where you were like, okay, here's my exit strategy, here's how I take care of myself? Or was it more of a, I have to get through every day, let's just take everything a day at a time, because I can't do anything more than that right now?
Oh, it's a juicy question. I All right, first of all, I want every single person who's listening to read a book called
When the world
what
didn't end.
yeah, well, that one, yeah, obviously, but What My Bones Know. Do you know this book?
I don't, but I have a feeling, is it similar to The Body Keeps the Score?
It's a cousin.
Okay.
What My Bones Know, and this is really actually an answer to your question. What My Bones Know, this book written by Stephanie Fu, who is like, in my mind, like a bigger genius than me. She's a journalist, but she's also a survivor of like, really fucked up shit. And the way that she writes this book, oh, it just like, honestly, I like cried in a way that like I cry when I think that someone has written something beautiful. It's her journey through, figuring her shit out. And one of the things that she says, I did not know this was an actual thing, CPTSD, which is, I didn't know. I don't know however many years I am old that I didn't know this was a concept. And so what she says is, I mean, from the many fucking brilliant things that she says, is that if you have CPTSD, which is like, there are people who have one traumatic event, and they like, maybe it's in front of I think this is actually her example, like maybe it's in front of a Dunkin' Donuts, and then they like go back to the Dunkin' Donuts and like, no, Dunkin' Donuts, you will not traumatize me. But if you're a person who grew up with the madness that I grew up with, and so many people grew up with, you like everything, I'm sorry, so many things are triggering, but you don't know. So you might suddenly be angry or anxious or like, hostile or overwhelmed. And it's because there are triggers all around you that you can't possibly fucking identify because it's your whole fucking life. And this has made me a better person, especially for my partner, my darling Isabel, because I'm like, I'm really weird right now. I'm like really like fucking pissed about nothing. And then I'm like, okay, no, that's just like, that's what it is. Like, you're not crazy. You're actually just a person who's just like trying to fix themselves every day. You know what I mean?
Was this a book that you were reading during your time living in that home that helped you to navigate the experiences that you were having?
Oh no. And I'm so excited that you just asked me that question, because the most healing fucking space that I have found is the Knowledge Center. I literally will cry when I talk about this. The first time I went to a knowledge meeting. Okay, so the first one I went to was like for like just people in cults, and I was like, oh, you fucking assholes. Like, you're just like these absolute fucking fools who fucking joined cults. Got over myself. Also, just, they're on their own path. But then I got into this group that is for those of us who are raised in. It's called the Raised In Cult Support Group from the Wellness Center. I have never laughed and cried and felt more seen in my goddamn life. I was just like so nervous. I'm just like, I'm scared of therapy, whatever. Because people telling you shit. I grew up that way. Just like elevating, like just beautiful, like seriously. For anyone who's listening, I will say I have worked through a lot of different groups and like ways of healing from being in a cult, and I will say, bar none, the Lalit Center is our place. It is our place. It is beautiful.
Just a massive shout out to Yanya for just being like the GOAT, the greatest of all time.
I mean, I fucking love Yanya. She's the most. And like, we were having a Zoom recently and she was like, I'm old, Yanya's like, I guess 80. And she's like, but I want to leave a legacy. And I'm like, yes, queen. Yes. Because like, it has like changed my life. It has been like, I find, because I'm doing like all these like pods and whatever, I just like, I find people who like need it, and like I've gotten them in, and like it's a little culty, I guess. But I'm just like really fucking in love with this fucking safe space that is about cults. And I have never been in a space where I feel so fucking seen.
And those places do exist, and it's a very important moment to highlight that for anybody listening that is in need of that support. The Lalich Centre offers so many different various types of support on sliding scales as well. So there are there's financial availability for people with all different types of incomes. And there's a lot of work that goes around fundraising for the Lalich Centre to support individuals who might not be necessarily financially equipped at all to seek that professional support and help. And as we know, there is so much need for cult specific trauma support, not just therapists who have kind of generic therapy available,
who need you to write an entire book so they understand you.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. No, I don't think many of us have it in us. Do you have a book in you? Maybe, but we shouldn't have to sit down and write a whole book to and even then, I mean, therapists are probably so overwhelmed when individuals sit down with them and say, this is my experience, and then you okay. So I don't know where to start here.
I would like to like actually say that like so I like I really try with therapy, and only because my partner is just like, it's a lot. um and I have not found this yet. I have not, but I feel, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I actually, weirdly, I'm just like, fuck my career. I want to become a cult therapist, because like there is a space, like it's hard for me to see a space that has need that I could fill. And one of them is fucking cult therapist.
The last part I really wanted to talk about before we finish today is towards the end of the book, there's this figure who really scared me when he was first mentioned, and this is Lloyd. And Lloyd, I was so skeptical of Lloyd. I was so worried that Lloyd was gonna come. Like, I have goosebumps thinking about it, and it does make me quite emotional thinking about it. But you're in this situation, you're being emotionally, physically, sexually abused in this home, without the support of a parent or a caregiver, and you end up forming a bond
I
with
know.
a you form a bond with a friend who you share your experiences with, and his father Lloyd rescues you. He basically like shows up in this like white chariot, and he says, you're going to come with me, and you go with him. And I was so worried. I was like, this is the most vulnerable person in the most vulnerable place, and this man's just swooping in and taking her out of this environment, and who knows what's going to happen. And he saved the day. He just came in and changed everything for you. And we don't have enough of those people in
I
these
know.
stories.
I know. I miss him so much. um, my editor wrote to me when I was writing this. She said, like, he puts his hand on your shoulder, and like, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, he's actually a good man. He's actually a really great man. He was a great man. Yeah. I know.
He's
I
just
natural storytelling madness, of course I need it to be like confusing, and like, that was like the moment, but like that actually was the moment. Like, that man saved me. That man fucking saved me. And out of nowhere, like out of
yeah.
like, he didn't fucking know me. He was just that guy. He was just like this amazing guy. It was just like, that sounds fucked up, whatever. And I'm like, I like literally have a fairy godmother story. It's so outrageous and amazing, because like this guy was just like, yeah, totally. No.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible because it's I mean, through it just like there's not enough of these figures in these stories, and sometimes they come through, and I always like to just give a little kind of shout out to the people that come through and make these things happen, because the book escalates and it gets stressful, and the chapters are short, which I really appreciate as a reader, because I'm not a fast reader, and if I'm one of these moods where I'm like, I'll just get to the end of the chapter, it's easier for me to keep reading a book if the chapters aren't really long. We all love Lord of the Rings, but sometimes you just can't do it. So when I got to this part of the book and he took you in and he supported you, it felt like that was your like almost do or die moment. Things were escalating so much to the point where I wondered how. I mean, I know you're here because I was reading your book after the fact, but I was thinking, how are you going to get out of this situation? And he came at that moment that just felt like, who knows what would have happened if he didn't show up at that time. And yes, I just wanted to make a point to say thank you so much to Lloyd. What a hero.
Oh, Thank you so much, Casey, for acknowledging that, because like honestly, it's not like I'm just immune to that situation. That is like the most incredible moment of my life, actually. He was like, man, out of nowhere, it was just like, I'm gonna fucking take care of you and make you safe. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure what's happening to me right now, but a rando man is about to save me.
Yeah, and not hurt you, you know. That was my biggest worry, and it didn't happen, thankfully, because at that part of the book I was like, please just let it stop, because I didn't know how much more younger Guinevere could take. It was just horrible. So you get to this point where Lloyd rescues you, and you write American Psycho, which, by the way, I was so excited when I got an email from your team asking if I wanted to speak with you, because American Psycho is a film that I absolutely love. And yeah, and you're still making amazing things. You're still writing amazing things. You have such an incredible career. Now you're the author of a memoir. I mean, where do you go? Where do you go from here? Are you working on things? Are you taking a break? Are you focusing on like a promotional tour for your book? What's next for Guinevere Turner?
All right. I to write a book about a cult is to really, get into the excuse me, the space of like how many people are so interested in cults. And that's been like, an interesting journey for me, because I'm like, it's not entirely not bullshit. I think that like in 2020, Wild whatever came out, and like everybody was like very obsessed with that. And a friend of mine who's also a cult survivor said like it's like being obsessed with human trafficking. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. What? I'm sorry, like being in a cult is not entirely gorgeous and amazing. So I'm like, what I would like to do is just like really write a piece that is about like why cult fascination and why now.
Yeah.
And you are, part of the problem / part of the solution, because you are there and you are thinking about it, but like, what the fuck? It's
Yeah.
like literally like I'm not like like how are cults just just a thing that people don't actually respect. I'm just like, whoa, I'm thinking about it. It's really hard. What I've gone with, what I'm thinking about, and please tell me if you have any thoughts, is like we're just marginalized, right?
Yeah.
We're just we're fascinations. I mean, and you're arguably like, the worst person to talk about this about, but I'm just kidding. But do you know what I mean? Like why do we love cults? Why do we think cults are true crime? Why do we think that like a real fucking experience is something of like hilarious note? It's too much.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a need to bridge that gap between cult survivors and the bigger world. And there's a need to change underrepresentation of cult survivors, and just education and rhetoric in general. There are so many things that come out, newspaper articles, salacious documentaries, and things that just focus on the as you said, the
I mean, have you
goriest
seen
parts.
this like thing that's called like how to become a cult leader?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I said in a review the other day, like one of the opening lines is that cults almost always end in bloodshed and death, and I was like, well, actually, most of them don't. So we should be saying to people that they almost always end in bloodshed and death, because then that's adding to the misconceptions that cults are, as Alexandra Stain would say, exotic and they don't exist all around us, when actually they do. So that, you know, it's difficult because we need more educational stuff out there to teach people about cults and how to equip themselves against cults, and how to understand that not everybody joins a cult. Individuals are born and raised in them as well. But with documentary pieces that come out and just add to those misconceptions, it's hard. But then Yanya's in it, and Rachel Bernstein's in it, and Teddy Hose, and they make really positive contributions. So, any lasting comments or thoughts that you'd like to pass on to the listeners before we finish today? And I ask you all the places where people can find a copy of Where the World Didn't End.
Well, thank you for asking. I think that the way that I have experienced writing this book is the following. It's really fucking hard to write a book with yourself, about yourself. I encourage you to do it. I encourage you to do it. It's incredibly challenging.
And it's available wherever you get your books, I believe. I think it's in Waterstones if you want to buy a book locally in the UK. And I will post links in the episode description for copies of that book. And I truly, truly recommend people go and read it. There are so many unique aspects in this memoir. I've interviewed so many different memoirists on this podcast now, and the really special parts of this book are some of the things I've mentioned, and so many more that you just have to read the book to find out about. But the journal entries are so special. So I really, really do encourage people who are looking to understand their experiences more, looking to learn more about the experiences of people growing up in cults. What better way than to read journal entries from a child's mind at the time that they're writing it? It's incredible. And I really appreciated the opportunity to read the book. And I loved talking about it in book club. Everybody in book club talked about how much it resonated with them. And I appreciate all your time today, Guinevere, and the chance to sit down and talk with you, a Hollywood hero.
Oh my God, this has been so great.
I was just going to say, I think you're an absolute rock star, and I really appreciate the time you've given me, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Take care, Guinevere. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
That is the end of this week's mini-series on the Lyman family. To find out more about Guinevere Turner and her work, you can follow the links in the episode description, including links to copies of When the World Didn't End. To get in touch with me, you can find me at cultvaultpodcast@gmail.com or follow me on Twitter and Instagram at cultvaultpod. I'm your speaker, Casey, host of the Cult Vault podcast.